Welcome to the One Verse Devotional Podcast. My name is Matt McCarrick, and my goal is to help you grow closer to God through one verse every day. Now let's dive in. Welcome back to the One Verse Devotional Podcast. My name is Matt, and I don't know about you, but for us, today was the first day of school. My son Noah, first day of third grade. We had a blast getting him on the bus this morning and taking a bunch of family pictures. And Kristen, for the last several years, has had this board that she writes on with a dry erase marker, just talking about like what grade he was in that year and who his teacher was. And then, we ask what he wants to be when he grows up. And so this year he said he wanted to be a chef, which is awesome. We watch a lot of cooking shows, and that's really cool. So we did that this morning. That was awesome, getting him on the bus and taking family pictures. And his baby sisters were so excited to say, goodbye to him and wish him good luck on his first day. So that's what we've been doing so far today. I would say what I love about the two verses that we're going to talk about today and tomorrow, they're right back to back in Isaiah chapter 43. And I would say that Isaiah 43 verses 18 and 19 are the Old Testament equivalent of one of my favorite verses that we talked about just a few weeks ago in Philippians chapter 3 verse 13. And we'll get into that in a second. So our one verse today is Isaiah 43:18. And God is speaking here, and he says, "Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past." God himself says, forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. And it reminds me of Philippians chapter 3, verse 13. Now, to refresh your memory, that's the verse that I say that it looks like Paul has bad math, because he says, "Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do." And then he lists two things, right? And the first part of it is forgetting what is behind. That's what Paul says. He says the first part of the one thing that I do is forgetting what is behind. And here we have in Isaiah 43, God himself says, forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. The truth is I think a lot of us get focused on the past. It's really the difference between memories and dreams, or even more specifically, it's the difference between memories and having hope. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with memories. I just said we literally created memories this morning. We took pictures of Noah with a sign. See, it all kind of ties in together. And the reason that we did that was so years from now, we can look back and we have pictures from kindergarten and first and second and third grade, and we'll keep doing them every year for as long as he'll let us, probably, of a picture with him and who his teacher was that year and what he wanted to be. So when he does decide what career he wants to have, we can look back on those memories. But then there's also hopes and dreams, isn't there? And I'm not talking about hope as in wishful thinking, like, man, I really hope this happens, like the verb hope. I'm talking about the noun. I have hope for the future. And we have hope in Christ and hope in Jesus. And so even God says, forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. Now, when we talked about Philippians 3:13 before, we specifically talked about forgetting our past mistakes and sins. But God is actually talking here before this. They're reminding the people of Israel what God did when they came out of Egypt, out of slavery, and they got to the Red Sea. And he literally is talking about when God parted the Red Sea and they went across, and then he swallowed up the sea on the Egyptian chariots and army that was chasing after him. And so, of course, we're supposed to remember. There's nothing wrong with memories. Matter of fact, there's verses in the Bible where God tells us to set up memorials to remember what he has done in our lives. However, he makes it clear that we are not supposed to dwell on the past. I don't want you thinking in your life, well, hey, remember 10 years ago what God did in my life? Remember, last year, remember 3 months ago? God says, forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. Of course, we remember those times. Of course, we acknowledge what God has done in our life. But what we learn in Philippians is we don't dwell on and remember our past mistakes and our sin. And here in Isaiah, God even says, hey, I've done some great things in your life, but I don't want you dwelling on that. He wants us to focus on hope and our hope in Him. We'll pick up part 2 tomorrow when we move into verse 19 and we learn why he tells us not to dwell on the past. But for today, I want you to remember his simple words. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. Remember it, but don't live there. Have a great day.